What's up, everyone? This is going to be the last part of the How to Use edgeful series. This is going to cover the indicator reports. So I made one covering the price action reports, made one covering the volume reports. Finally, this is the last piece, the indicator reports. So just quickly, I'm going to tell you that this explanation is going to cover stocks, forex, and futures. One thing, I mentioned it in the other videos, but I want to mention it again. When you're looking at futures or forex, the sessions are very important. So I'll just switch to, for example, the price action so you can see an example of different sessions. So here we're looking at the New York session. So you can see this is 9:30 to 4. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to quickly go to the micro S&P futures, and then actually I just pulled up edgeful's market sessions custom indicator. So what you can see here is you can request indicators here on edgeful. So just click on this button and then send us over your username, which is right over here. So click on that button, then click on this, or actually just send us this. In my case, it's edgeful, just the username. And what this will show is it'll automatically outline each of the market sessions. So London, Asia, and New York. This is fully customizable, by the way. So if you use different time frames, you can just easily change them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the Tokyo and London sessions. So you can see here that the sessions here are outlined in blue. The New York sessions are blue here. So when you're looking at this session here, this 9:30 to 4, you are only looking at the data within these blue boxes. So keep that in mind, that you are not looking at the data outside of it. So if you trade that New York session, look at the New York session within edgeful. If you trade the London session, then pay attention to that London session within edgeful. So in that case, you'd go here, switch this, change this to London, uncheck New York. Now this automatically adjusted to only cover the London sessions. Very, very important, and that applies to futures and forex. So whether you trade either one, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really apply to stocks, obviously, or options traders, because we only trade that regular trading hours, 9:30 to 4. So I'm just going to switch back here to the indicators section, and I'm going to switch to stocks, and I'm going to cover a couple of the reports here. So this is the ATR report. We're looking at SPY, and we are looking at the trailing 1 year. And what ATR is, you can just think about it in terms of the average high to the low of the day. It's not exactly that, but it's very close. Just for the sake of the example here, if you want to find the calculation, it's very, very simple, and you can just Google that. But this is what the current daily ATR is, and we use the 14-day ATR, which is the industry standard. So let me switch to SPY here for a second. The way that you can see this is you're going to go to that daily time frame. You're going to go on in the indicators button here. You're going to type out ATR. First one that comes up, ATR, not in the community section, in this section up here in the technicals, is the one you're going to want to click. So right there. So you can see here, this is the daily ATR. You want to make sure that you are covering on the daily time frame only. We're not looking at ATR intraday. We're not looking at a 15-minute ATR. We want to check what the high to low of the day is on average, not of a 15-minute period. So what this report measures is how often does today's range, or today's high and low, exceed this number or stay within this number. So in this case, we always use yesterday's ATR because it doesn't change, so it's set in stone. And then we compare that to today's price action. So let's say today's high and low was $6. This is obviously greater than this 550. That would fall into this category here, this blue area of exceeded ATR. Let's say today's high and low was $4, obviously lower than the ATR. That would fall into this category here. 64% of the time, price is going to stay within that daily ATR. So how do you use this in your trading? Whether you trade forex, whether you trade futures, stocks, options, it doesn't matter. You say, my expectation is that price will stay within this range. Therefore, I put my profit targets within that range. I'm not going to put my profit targets, regardless of my emotions, $7 away because historically, 64% of the time, it's not going to exceed this number here. So you want to be taking profits up on that $5 mark, $5.20, $5.50, or whatever it is. Even if you want to take it at $2, $3, $4, you just don't want to set your profit targets outside of the expected range because you want to go for consistency. You don't want to go for these lotto home runs. Obviously, there will be days where you can go for home runs, but on average, it's not going to happen. So we also have this report by weekday. So what this is, what you can see here is if I switch to Monday here, this is how you select the different weekdays. The way that you use this is to say, okay, let's narrow this down to each weekday, because if you watched the volume report type video, like the how to use edgeful's volume reports, you'll know that each weekday has its own personality, which I explained in that video and a bunch of the other videos. Very, very important concept. I definitely recommend go watching that video. But you can see that 80% of Mondays in the last year have stayed within this range. So now you have more confirmation to say, I should not expect price to exceed this high and low. As you go throughout the week, very different story. So almost half of all Thursdays will exceed this number. The range on Thursdays are very big. So these are days where you can hold on to your runners. These are days where you can stretch your winning trades. These are days where you can set your profit targets a little bit further out because these days actually do have bigger moves. So that's how you can use this report. And obviously, you go throughout the week, it's a different story for every weekday, but Mondays and Thursdays are really the standout day. Now I'm going to switch to the ADR. Very, very similar concept, but this is average daily range, and we use this on a 5-day time frame. So the reason that we do this is because this was a requested report. So somebody went up here and said, can you make the ATR report for ADR? And we build these completely for free for now, but this is why we use the 5 days. So the results are a little bit different here. I recommend checking this one out whenever you go into Edgeful. Very similar concept to ATR, but this is a shorter time frame. So it's that 5 day, and it's not ATR, this is ADR, so average daily range. Then the last one that I'm going to show you here is the pivot points indicator report. So this one's actually very popular, and this was a very, very interesting one as well. So let me just remove this. Now we're going to go into that indicator section. Again, we're going to go to invite only, which is where all the Edgeful indicators will live, and then you go to pivot points. So let me just drop to a 15-minute here, and let's see what happens. So what I'm going to do here is something to keep in mind is, let's see. So all of our indicators are customizable, by the way, so just keep that in mind. I'm actually going to use this day as an example because it's a much better example to show you of what generally tends to happen. So pivot points are just levels that are plotted every day. There's a new level, and that's based on yesterday's range. If you want to find the calculation, it's very, very simple. It has to do with the high, low, and close of the previous day and just multiples of that in either direction. But you can see here we have these blue buttons, and this is the opening between these levels. So you can see that this day here opened between the pivot point, this blue one, and R1. So in this case, we're going to click on open between R1 and pivot point, and all the data just changed here. And what you can see, what this box will show you, this table shows you, is when we've opened between R1 and pivot point for SPY in the last year, how often will we touch each of these levels? So you can see that we've touched the pivot point 59% of the time. We've touched R1 65% of the time. Let me just make this a little smaller here. I'll actually just do that. And then, so you can see we have touched these levels a very high percentage of the time. But as we go further up, that percentage decreases. So how do you use this? So today we're opening between this level. Let's say we're right here. We open between this level. At the market open, you say, okay, we open between R1 and pivot point. What are the areas that are likely to be touched? And you can see pivot point is very high. Obviously, it's 60% of the time, and R1 is 65% of the time. So you can see here, very, very high likelihood that we're going to touch R1. So what you can do is take a trade targeting these areas, targeting these levels. One thing that's very important, and what I love so much about this report, is that you can see R3 has only been touched 7% of the time in the last year. Price never got there. So maximizing your trades by saying very high probability that R1 and R2 are going to get touched, but not R3. So I should start to take the majority of my profits or all of my profits by the time we reach R2. Same thing goes for the other side. So in this case, S2 has only been touched 7% of the time. So it's not likely that price is going to come all the way down here. So whether you trade options, whether you trade forex, futures, it doesn't matter. This applies directly to everything. So options traders, you can long calls or puts, and for this to touch these levels. You can sell options in areas that are unlikely to be touched. People that trade shares, you can target these levels. People trade forex, target the levels. If you trade futures contracts, target the levels. So then finally, this is where price tends to close the most on the day. So you can see the highest likelihood, or the highest area that price is closed between, is between R1 and the pivot point. So again, back where it opened. So historically, price will move up and down, but close in this area. This is kind of just more of an understanding to say, where can I expect price to move? And obviously, it's unlikely for price to close kind of on the extremes. So you should expect price to make a larger move, but then come back down and just maybe not have as much continuation. So if you have any questions, every report has an explanation video. So this will be a pivot point specific video right here. So I highly recommend watching that, or any of the other ones that you have questions on. But if you have any other questions, reach out to our support at hello@edgeful.com. We'll answer any questions you have. And just make sure, if you haven't, check out the price action and volume videos as well, because they will help you understand edgeful, which will also help you understand how to become a profitable trader. So thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to helping you in your trading journey.